And welcome to another Tuesday Talk. Today I have with me Brooke Haley, who is our Assistant Academic Director of English for Academic Purposes, also known as EAP. EAP is actually our credit side of our English program. So hello, Brooke.
Hey, Lindsey, and everybody else.
How are you doing today?
Pretty good, pretty good. It's sunny out. Got outside, so it's all good. It's good.
Yeah, it is pretty sunny here in Indiana too, though it's a little chillier than I would like, but
right, nothing like 75 we had the other day. That was perfect.
Yeah, that was pretty perfect. Well, I'm glad you're doing all right. So I just got a few questions for you. Wow. So how long have you been with the English Language Academy?
Well, I started at UWM teaching ESL in 2001. It was one of my first jobs out of grad school. So I was there. I've been there on and off, full-time, part-time since 2001.
Yeah. Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome. So you must really enjoy working with our students then.
I love our students. I love our students. They're fantastic. They're fantastic.
Awesome. So then what would you say you love the most about your job?
Well, I think as a teacher, you really get to see your students progress. On the credit side, we teach semester-long classes. So I have the same students for 16 weeks. And in the last several years, I've been teaching mostly writing, academic writing, college writing, and seeing what the students are able to do at the beginning of the semester with their language and organizing their ideas. And then the really great complex work they're able to do by the end just is so rewarding for me as a teacher. I really love watching the students' skills grow. But then interestingly, with their skill growth is their confidence, right? By the end of the semester, they're so much more comfortable, speaking English and using English and just in themselves. So I love watching skills develop and then also their confidence and comfort grow. It's really great.
Yeah, for sure. I love seeing students, even if they're still struggling with the language, I feel like they grow as individuals, and I think that's really important too to see as a teacher. So I really love that.
Yeah, love that. I love that. Yeah.
Awesome. So I've been a teacher, even though I'm not currently one now. We both know that being a teacher also comes with some challenges. So what would you say is the most challenging part of your job?
To be honest, for me, on the credit side, students are getting grades that go into are included into their GPA. And for so many students, those grades are really, really important. Like getting a good grade in the class will determine kind of whether they have a scholarship or not, or just how willing their parents are to pay for them to come study in another country. So for me, I wouldn't say it's a challenge, but it's maybe the most stressful part of my job is actually having to assign a grade to a student who really didn't do very well for whatever reason, right? Lots of students don't do well, but I really hate having to give a grade that isn't great, because I know how important they are.
Yeah, for sure. Especially when you know that maybe that student is struggling from, just being away from home. Because I know when I studied abroad, that was really tough on my classes as well.
Right, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. So speaking of foreign language learning, I do know that you did French in undergrad, much like I did. Yeah. So how did learning a foreign language really help inform you in teaching ESL with your students?
I think when you learn another language and you live in another country and study in another country like you and I both have done, you really are able to empathize with students and all of their struggles, right? So I know how hard it is to speak in front of other people, especially when you're not sure about saying the right thing or your grammar's not perfect or where your pronunciation might be confusing. It's really hard to speak in front of native speakers. So I think coming from that environment or that experience myself, I think as a teacher, I've just taken my own experience and my own struggles with being confident and taking risks in another language and try to create my classroom environment where students really feel comfortable doing that, right? Yeah. So I think my own experience doing that has really helped me try to create an environment where students feel safe and feel like making a mistake is part of learning. And I think that's the biggest thing. But then also when you study another language, especially a language like French, which has similarities with English, it really actually helped me understand my own grammar, English grammar better.
Yeah, I would say it did the same for me as well.
Yeah, so I think, I became more empathetic and I got better at my own language, to be honest.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, your video is going away here a little bit. We'll keep talking though. I'm not really sure what's happening. Sorry guys for the technical difficulties, but we'll continue on. So do you often share with your students that you studied a foreign language?
Sometimes I have a funny story. I had a group of French business students who we used to have a partnership with a business school in Paris, and I was like kind of their cohort like person in charge of their cohort here.
Okay.
And so I taught them all semester, or actually it was 8 weeks, all 8 weeks, the last part of the semester. And I never spoke French with them the whole time, but I would listen to their conversations in French. And then at the end of the semester, we all went out for dinner. And I just started speaking French with them, and they're like, what? I think, did you understand what we were saying all semester? And it was quite a shocker. It was fun. It was fun to be able to do that. But generally, I share sometimes, like when it comes up, if I see a student struggling, I will say, I know how you feel. I've been there. It's a matter of taking risks and just learn from your mistake. So when a student is struggling, I think that's helpful information for them.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely found that once it's almost like they feel like they're like, oh, you're just like me. I don't have to be so afraid anymore. And I think that really helps them, especially when I make a mistake. I could be like, it's okay. In my second language, I make mistakes all the time, and that's normal.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Builds that connection with the students.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Well, what would you say, of course, because you've been teaching for, gosh, that's a long time, more than 15 years at this point.
20 years. I can't believe
it. Yeah, wow, that's a long time. So I'm sure throughout all of those years, you've had many embarrassing moments. So what would you say was one of the most embarrassing moments you've had as a teacher?
I think I'm a terrible speller, right? And when I was like a newer teacher, I would like really try and cover that up and, do my best. But there's been more than one time where students had to correct my spelling, like when I write on the board.
Yeah.
They'll say, wait, is that how you spell that word? I'll have to look at it and, oh, right. No, I don't. That's how I spell. So it's embarrassing when students have to correct my spelling. But now it's one of the things I say at the beginning of the semester, like, hey guys, I'm a terrible speller. I challenge you to find my mistakes.
So that's awesome. You kind of use it.
Yeah. I think you have to, fess up to your weaknesses in front of your students sometimes. So then it's less embarrassing when I do it, right?
Yeah. And I've found in my own experience that when I make a mistake, and if I just like let my students know, it gives them, I feel like it makes me more human for them and makes them more comfortable with me. Right. So I've always found it to be an advantage, for sure. So of course you've been teaching for 20 years, so I'm sure this question is hard, but what is one of your favorite subjects to either teach on or to use for like a thematic unit?
I love teaching reading and writing, because I think with reading, a lot of people don't think they like to read. They tell themselves, oh, I don't like to read. I'm not a good reader. And even in a native language, right? But when you get a book in front of you that is really engaging and interesting, and you've got people to talk about it with and work through it with, that's really fun. So I enjoy teaching reading. And then writing is a natural extension of reading, right? When you read something, writing about it in lots of different ways and using the vocabulary that you're learning as you're reading, it's a natural pair, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Reading and writing for sure. And the last couple of years, I've used a novel called Wonder in.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that.
Reading classes, and my students love it. And that book is its intended audience are like middle school kids. That's who it's about, and that's who it's meant for originally. Right. But it's such a fantastic book with themes that anybody of any age can really identify with. And so my students, when we read that book together, I'm like, students were crying together in class.
Oh, wow.
excited about talking about the story and can really relate to some of the themes of friendship and loyalty and taking risks and being an outsider. So we really get to dig into those themes and talk about them, and then write about them. So I love reading, writing, and when you have a good book, that you get to work on with your students and seeing them like actually say, oh, wait a second, I think I might like reading, as long as it's something that I enjoy, is really satisfying. Yeah, that's super fun.
That's awesome. So do you tend to lean more towards using novels in your class as opposed to other types of literature?
Yeah, I think novels, I mean, I've used both, but I like using novels, and I don't know why, but maybe it's because my own personal preference. It's what I like to read when I have time. So I do enjoy novels, and I think novels you can really dig into language a little bit, and talk about some elements of language that you don't see in nonfiction as much, like figurative language and
that's true.
There's some nice vocabulary development that you can do. I mean, you can do it with anything, but I enjoy novels better.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. Yeah, definitely depends on like what your end goals are for what you choose. But I definitely prefer novels as well for that same reason.
Yeah.
There's
so much good stuff. Mm-hmm.
So, what would students then be surprised to know about you, Brooke?
That's a good question. I don't know. I think maybe they'd be surprised to know that I like to dance.
Oh, really?
I went to an arts high school in Milwaukee, and dance was my major. I grew up doing ballet.
Oh, wow. See, I didn't even know that, so that's cool.
I think that might be a surprise. I haven't danced ballet in 30 years now, I suppose. I did the math earlier, since college.
Wow.
Or since, my beginning of college days. But I still like to go out dancing with my friends. There's a place in Milwaukee that has a great 80s night dance night, and so I'll go out there with my friends a couple times.
That's cool.
Really fun. And it's fun because it's 80s music. It's a lot of old people my age. And a bunch of college students, so it's fun.
Yeah, I know there's this place in River West that does like a groovy night, Mad Planet.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
It's a great place because if you're not typically into like the super club scene, it's great to go to like those groovy 80s, 70s nights.
And what the funny thing is, I went to Mad Planet in my 20s.
Oh, really?
Around.
Well, it's still a hip place. I still like going there with my friends. So listen, students, if you're looking for some fun but don't like typical club scenes, Mad Planet's a really good choice, which is River West.
Yeah.
And I live in River West, so it's close.
Easy to get in. Mm-hmm.
So you did ballet then. Is that like your favorite style of dance, you would say?
That's what I grew up doing, and that I enjoyed doing that a lot when I was younger. And it's been so long. I'm so inflexible. I surprised that I was able to do all the things that I used to do when I was younger. So.
Yeah, I used to do swing dance in undergrad, and I did it a little bit when I lived in Paris, but I just work so much now, unfortunately, that I've gotten a little bit away from it. So
not as much time for fun.
Yeah. So have fun all you can, students, because when you get older, it's a little bit harder.
Everything's a little bit harder. Yeah,
for sure. So, I have found in my experiences teaching, and I'm sure with your immense experience, that students can surprise us as much as we can surprise them. So what is something surprising that you have learned about your students over the course of your career?
I think I'm always so pleasantly surprised, I guess, when a student that maybe for part of the semester just doesn't seem to be doing well or caring a lot about the class, when they really turn it around and finish strong. It's such a nice, pleasant surprise for me to see when students can change their attitudes or their habits so that they finish well in the class, because it's hard to do. It's hard, especially if you're off to a bad start. It can be really hard to turn it around. So I'm really always proud and surprised when students are able to do that.
Yeah. Do you think it's something that you've ever said to students to help them do that? Or do you think
I like to as the semester is going along, let them know what's coming and how what they've already done is going to help them be able to do what's coming, just fine. Like keep encouraging them and cheerleading, throughout the semester. I like to do that. In the class I'm co-teaching this semester, EAP 101, at the beginning of the semester, students get this giant course packet with so much information, really dense text, a lot of things that are just very, very new to them. And they're shocked. Like those first couple of weeks, they're just like, what? How am I ever going to be able to do this?
Yeah.
And I've been like reminding, like, all right, you guys, look at how far we are in this packet. We only have, 4 more assignments left, or like 20 pages of the packet. We can do it. You can be there.
Really.
So the cheerleading throughout is helpful to help maybe encourage students to turn it around.
That's awesome. Yeah, for sure. We definitely have to be their biggest cheerleaders, even when we're exhausted ourselves sometimes.
Right. Yeah. The stack of papers to grade. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Got to be a cheerleader.
Yeah, I definitely. That's one thing I don't miss about being a teacher is the stack of tests to grade.
Yeah.
So obviously we're all social distancing. Some of us are going a little stir crazy, but what's a hobby that you're doing to keep yourself occupied during this time of social distancing?
I go for a long walk every day. I like try and do like 2 work periods. I'll talk about that later, I guess, but I go for a big long walk and listen to my favorite podcasts while I'm walking.
Oh, that's really nice.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of cooking. Lots of cooking and treat making, and then trying to give that food away so that it's not all sitting in the house for me.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
And then like everybody else, like way too much Netflix. Yeah.
I think that's normal.
Binge watching. We just watched this new one on Netflix called The English Game. It's about the beginnings of soccer or football in England, and it was super interesting. I recommend that to anybody who likes football.
Oh, that's really cool.
European football.
Yeah, I'm staying with my sister and brother-in-law, and they are renovation like nerds. Okay, so all they watch are like renovation shows, and now it's like my new favorite thing. I all of a sudden want to buy a house and renovate it, even though it's never been a dream of mine.
I know those shows are addicting.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I definitely have been taking some few walks, not cooking as much because I'm with family, but I think I should cook more just to be doing something. But
so you're watching cooking shows and then you'll want to cook.
Yeah, there we go. That's true.
Right.
Awesome. So what advice do you have then for students during this time, especially with online learning? Maybe some of them have never done it before.
Yeah, it's a struggle. I've never taught exclusively online before, so I'm also having a hard time getting used to teaching online. So something that I've done for myself that's made it more manageable and a little bit more enjoyable is I like do a morning work period. Like I'll get some, like work in the morning and then go for a big long walk and then come back and do afternoon work period too. So breaking up my day with some exercise has been really helpful for me. Just because like sitting like on your couch or in your bed or wherever on your computer all day is just gonna kill your soul.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, and I've also kind of like had like an end time. Like the first week or two of this working at home, I was like working until like 9 o'clock at night because I'd work a little bit and then do other things, and it was like 9 o'clock and I was still doing stuff. Like, what am I doing? This is terrible. Then I feel like all you're doing is working all day, even though you aren't necessarily.
Yeah.
So, like getting big, long work periods in the morning, nice break, afternoon, and then finishing up, at a set time so that it doesn't feel like that's all you're doing is sitting in front of a computer.
Yeah, definitely having that structure. I think that's definitely something that I struggled with the first week or two is, not really, and getting easily distracted by things like or Instagram or dishes. Yeah, exactly. So definitely I think that's a great piece of advice is just getting up and exercising or even just walking around the house. I found has been super
doing something different, like do a cleaning break or something where you're up and moving around.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Well, that was my last question for you, Brooke. Do you have any other advice you'd like to say to students or our fellow staff members?
Yeah, I think just remember this is going to be over. We'll get through it. And just staying connected to people is really important. So I know some students are stuck alone in their apartments. Maybe they live alone or their roommates have gone home and they're alone. Just trying to take care, do things that you're enjoying every day. Try not to take it too, like everything just too seriously, you know, and find things that you're enjoying doing and doing some of those every day. We'll get through it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you, Brooke, so much for meeting with me, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.
Thank you. See you
All right.
later, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.